Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Yeah, I've had a lot of coffee, but that's okay. We are continuing on with some musings on this fine Sunday. Um, it's funny thinking back. We started talking about religion a little bit, and don't worry, I won't overly go into religion. Just more of like a macro analytical approach, because it is so uncomfortable for a lot of people. But anyways, I used to spend my Sundays going to church down in Salida, and we had to drive 30 minutes to get because we were in Buena Vista, right? And so then we had to drive 30 miles and 30 minutes about just to go to church. All right, so we had to sit in a car. My family had to sit in a car just to go sit and listen to someone for an hour. And that's how I saw it, being a kid. And and honestly, I still do see it as that opportunity cost. Like, what could have I been doing? Especially with that at that time, we had a regular Nintendo. I think I had a BB gun. Well, I know I had a BB gun. I'm just trying to remember. Like during the churchy days, it was more, you know, outdoor stuff or action figures and toys. Like we didn't have a lot of techno gadgets. Granted, we did. I had a Game Boy that I played for thousands of hours, like Pokemon. I beat all three, the yellow, the red, and the blue, multiple times, multiple playthroughs, kind of like how Dark Souls fans like to do now, um, myself included. Although I don't really do New Game Plus. I mean, I haven't had I don't know, Bloodborne, yeah, but then I feel like even Bloodborne, I get to a certain point and then I stop. Like it gets like, yeah, I've lost interest. But I mean, I don't know. Sorry, now we're getting too deep into analyzing just my own personal psyche, but part of going to school and going to college and being able to do something like that, which isn't really accessible by everyone, not by a long shot, but I took history classes. And so in classes like that teach you that yeah, people are people and there is no such thing as good guys, bad guys. Like there's no such thing as orcs and humans. Like it's all just humans and humans just with different perspectives and different understandings and different communications. So, you know, remember as kids playing cops and robbers, like actually let's find a carrot vendor. Usually they'll hold up an emerald if it's of interest to them. I like how I still don't trust it and I'm still gonna oops. No, this guy. Okay. There we go. He'll do carrots. I guess it'd be faster this way because it's 22. And each stack is only like two and a half of those, so not even. Do that. Oh, let's fix a tool while we're doing this. Wait, where'd you go? Okay. Anyways, I like how I threw all those cybersecurity tags too, and if you're just joining us, this is your first A-Rye video, you're probably pretty confused. But cybersecurity is loosely termed the study of defending against malicious activity using technology. Now, and I've seen a lot of this recently, more specifically SANS, the SANS Institute, which is a big name in security. Um, they were doing a webinar type thing that I just briefly joined. I threw in a comment just to say, hey, hi, like show a pulse. Um, and get my own little bit of fame there too. I think I said something like, "Oh, this aligns with my side projects," because that's human nature. We like to get a little credibility and recognition. Like, I mean, whether we're just trying to reassure ourselves that it's doing something good or whatever. But cybersecurity, you're protecting against malicious activity now, and it's malicious activity from outside threats, from inside threats, from accidental threats. Like, there's so many different ways to classify a threat or an attack. Like, it could just be a switch busted, like it just burned out. It just, it failed. It finally bit the dust for whatever reason. And then it's like, okay, well, that's not some hacker in Bulgaria, like, trying to get into your stuff. It's like, oh no, it's just, maybe a mouse chewed the cord. So you got to protect against that. Well, that's just general IT. And cybersecurity kind of more implies a malicious act. Well, what if somebody poured water on a server? Okay, now you're getting somewhere. Now that's some criminal activity, possibly, if they're trying to destroy evidence. Sorry, present company included. No, there's just some things going on with U.S. politics. Trump was actually, but let's try not to get political, because that's another thing. There's no orcs in politics. As much as people want to think it sometimes, there just isn't. Whether you're a filthy Dem or a filthy Republican or a filthy Democrat or whatever, like, somebody's out there calling you filthy. And if they were saying that to your face, probably not, or at least not as bad. You'd like to think. But we also had a civil war. Sorry, that's where the arc goes back to the whole history classes. We had the Civil War, which was called the Brothers' War. mostly because we didn't let a lot of women fight. We tried not to. They'd still be at the hospitals, like the bone saws or the bone doctors, the sawbones. There you go. Whatever. They had nicknames for these people, but human experience was we felt so strongly about slavery that we were willing to kill over it. Both sides, both ways. And that created orcs temporarily. We saw the South as orcs. We still do to a point. And although I feel like we can all agree that slavery is bad, it's the people thinking that, well, how bad? Like, is it bad? Like, would I give up my business over it? Now, and even saying that, that sounds so messed up if you just say it like that. But then you got to think a lot of these people in the South, they went through a lot of hardships to get there, and their families did. And then not only that, there was a lot of pressure. But at the same time, no, yes, slavery is always wrong, and we're still doing it with prisons. And that's why one of my big goals, and not just mine, when I say that, it's one of the big goals of my generation, is to end mass incarceration. Now, because it is still slavery, and it is still disproportionately non-white people, but that's not to say that there's not a ton of my people. I'm just kidding, we're all people. But whiteys in there too, wasting away unspent potential, basically. That's all it is. Because nobody is an orc. Nobody's out there like just so dumb, so beyond saving. So, granted, alcohol and wet brain, that that makes it pretty hard, but not impossible. Sorry, hold on. And that's actually some new controller drift. That's the other stick this time. It's awesome. I love it. I feel like PlayStation's actually testing me, or God. Or no, I'm just kidding. No, we're not gonna get into that. But if this was the Matrix, then yeah, totally. Whoever was like running the program was like, all right, now let's start. Let's make him do this. Let's make him start do that. But don't worry, I'm not saying anything like that. We need to have a firm grasp on the reality that until proven otherwise, as far as our observable knowledge states, then yes, it is what we think it is. Now, until we see the holes in the top of the jar, that's like, find out, or like Men in Black, how the entire universe was a marble, and they were playing marbles with the several galaxies, and like, yeah, until you get into that, it's all perspective, or sorry, it's all hypothetical. It's all like, yeah, and we used to believe that gods carried the sun across the sky. Now, and that's getting into like Western Civ classes, which I took one of those in high school. Buena Vista is pretty redneck, pretty white trash, but at the same time, we had Colorado Mountain College right there in town, and I was able to take a lot of college classes for cheap before I got to college. All my friends did. Like, we weren't rich. We were a bunch of like DOC workers, like families of prison workers. Like, you think they're rolling in the dough? No. They're just barely getting by. And if you introduce some alcoholism, which is way more prevalent when there aren't things like movie theaters, like simple things like that. Like, if you were to, I mean, granted, we had a drive-in movie theater, which was great for the summer, but then guess what? Tons of people would come in our tourist season. That's what we also lived off of, was tourism. Like, come up here, do some whitewater rafting, or go skiing in Salida, but go check out BV while you're there too. And it's just that's what small mountain towns did. Now, granted, there's a lot of farming. I mean, you can't just generalize and say, everything was this way or that way. But yeah, just understanding why, on average, the typical person from a small town was A, Republican, B, most likely MAGA too, like Trumpish Republican, which again, people are people. There's no orcs out there. Like, keep that in mind. Like, as much as you want to think so. Like, when I even bring up Musk to some of the people that I talk to, you could just tell they'd like visibly get pissed. And it's like, what? Why? Sorry, I might actually that might have just made this an adult 18 plus video. Apologies, but anyways, makes them visibly upset, like so much to the so to where they might say something, and now they might have an opinion of you at least from that day, or that moment, or that memory. But like Musk, just because Elon isn't completely supportive of Democrats, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but that's what it is. Like okay, more recently he said something in support of like an anti-Semitic post, and then now he's like backpedaling from it, and it's because tensions are high. There's a lot of sensitivity around the current wars going on, and understandably so. I'm not trying to downplay this at all. I'm just saying, as an American that has to kind of justify 20 years of war and all like tens of thousands of people dying, it's a little hard for me to really like. I don't like speaking about it. I'm still sorry to the world about what America did. Oh, we just broke that. Oh, okay. It's not like I did it. It's not like I was like, hey, but what am I doing to stop it? what am I doing to keep it from happening again? Because I don't know. Tens of thousands when you got Hitler in the millions, and then you got like these other conflicts and genocides in our history. We're getting better, but good lord, like right now, whatever God exists, if a God does exist, they're upset, or she's upset, she's disappointed. But I don't know, it's getting close, and like easier said than like it's so disrespectful. I'm not meaning it in that way. Like I'm not trying to downplay or any of this. It's all scary. It's all bad. And then you get these leaders trying to do the best that they can to preserve both themselves, their country, but then this and yeah. It's okay. I think we're getting really close to a new world order, and that used to be a very scary concept. Like at least to me, I was like, "Oh no, that's terrible. That's like, you know, the Illuminati, the people in the robes, like the ones like secretly controlling everything. Gotham. If you ever get Netflix and watch the show Gotham, that's basically what that was. They had like a secret society controlling Gotham and like all of this stuff, and like there was potential for people getting let go from or Arkham, not Azkaban. That's the Harry Potter prison, but like people getting locked up, and then shuffled around, and kind of like the real world, like the people that are out there doing things that there's different degrees of like wrong. Like that's why I love the show Breaking Bad because they're in it. They're like cooking, they're making drugs, like very bad drugs too, like like the worst for you, most unhealthy substances, and often mixed with even worse unhealthy substances to make it even more dangerous. Like where your teeth are literally falling out of your head, or I guess currently, fentanyl is the big thing, which could be mixed with anything. But anyways, sorry, in case kids are watching this, we won't get too far into that. But the fact is it's people out there doing this. There is not one person in there that is an orc. There's not one troll in there. There's not one phoenix. There's not one centaur. There's not one mystical fairy creature. It's all people. And so once you understand that, then you're like, oh wow. And I think that's why so many people they kind of know that on a deeper level. They understand that this is people doing this stuff, but then we start, scratching our heads. Well, why and how? Like, how do we understand where they're coming from? First of all, like, what motivates someone to do this? Oftentimes, it's miscommunication, and a lie to support a lie to support a lie. You do one thing, it starts out as a molehill, and it becomes a mountain by the end of it, and and then it actually culminates in like a lot of death, a lot of destruction, and a lot of just terrible situations. Breaking Bad. So. Oh, still my favorite show, and I watch it to this day. I still watch it through. Like, and when I get done, I just watch it on a loop. Next one, and like, because there's just so many subtle dynamics of like human behavior and psychology, and like understanding, and then like people making these life or death decisions, and that affect themselves, like the people they care about, and then while all still playing discreetly within the law. Like you think about like the Cowboys and Indians days, or any of the different like cops and robbers is what we used to play as kids, and we would just chase each other, and like the cops would try to catch the robbers, and the robbers would try to evade the cops. Well, and that's basically choosing sides or playing teams. Like if you think soccer or American or football. I'm sorry, football, how it's known in like the rest of the world. But since America kind of shot off like a bottle rocket, because we rebelled against control, because we went against the laws, we became lawless. It was like if Australia was similar. It was like a penal colony, a prison colony for England, where England dumped the world's criminals, and then they had families and they reformed. But yet, sorry, you're kind of separated by a lot of water, so you're kind of stuck there. Which I mean, drastically changed. I don't mean to say that Australia. I haven't even been there, first of all, so I don't have a very good opinion about what it is, what it's like currently. I know from what I've seen, just about everything there wants to kill you, and there's a lot of crazy creatures there. But like, there's very like dangerous looking things that I'm not really having to deal with here. So there's that. But I mean, I'm still gonna go one day. I'd like to try to visit everywhere I can, but you know, I'm gonna be prepared and try to do a little background research. So, anyways, people are people, and we're finding that out now because of the internet. That's it. Once we get everybody connected to the internet and we provide good education tools, and we already got the entertainment part done, YouTube. Like, I mean, and it generates tons of money through advertisement revenue, subscriptions. People are able to tip and donate to the people that, the content they like. Not saying anything with this. I mean, this is philanthropy. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm in a comfortable place where I can start working to try to give back and make it to where as many other people can enjoy what I enjoyed because I got the birth lottery. I was born in America. I mean, a lot of people can't even say that. Like, didn't even make it past birth. Like, and then they are born, and then it's like, okay, well now they're bombed. Like, it's a harsh reality. And again, on behalf of the U.S., I apologize. That whole 20 years, I was not supportive of that at all. I hated Bush. Anyways, neither was South Park too. South Park really ripped into him, basically calling him out, like saying that 9/11 was an inside job. But mm. And that's important. That's worth talking about because the more that people from the other countries see that, the more people see South Park and realize, well, wait a minute, these are Americans saying this about America. Okay. And then realizing that even within the country, there's groups and people against each other and misunderstandings and tons of bad stuff. And like, do I believe it was real? Well, yeah, I believe it was pretty real. It was real that three buildings fell down from two planes, explosive style. Anyway, sorry, we won't get into that too much. Because even then, even if it was it worth it? Was it like was there a deeper meaning that the evil was worth? Like, start getting into like movies like Batman, where like, you know, the city needed what was it at the end of the Dark Knight? You're not the hero they deserve, but you're the hero that they need because they weren't really deserving of it, but they needed a sacrifice. They needed a martyr. They needed someone for everybody to point to. They needed a Jesus, basically. I'm sorry to bring religion back into it, but if we're going to talk parallels of human understanding and why certain people think a certain way, because you got it. I mean, if you're going to protect against attacks of all shapes and sizes, if you're going to try to defend your system, defend your employees, your coworkers, your company, then your family, when you're trying to do it for your home cybersecurity, like you need to understand, well, how bad can this get? What do I need to protect against quicksand? Not really. I mean, like, that's a funny meme I've seen is like the amount of time, or growing up, I thought quicksand was going to be a lot bigger of a problem than it is. I mean, the way that cartoons and stuff latched onto it, because it was such an amazing concept, a sensational one that would draw viewership, that would raise money, that would help somebody meet or get their needs met, basically. And that's why it's so important to go to college if you're able to, but a lot of people aren't able to, and take economics classes, history classes, Western Civ, all these things. And then Eastern stuff. I haven't studied the East or the Middle East or the Far East or any of that relative to where I'm at now, mind you. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just saying, like, these areas I'm just now starting to kind of like learn about. So, not a lot, not specifically. Like Russia. I got a cousin who's nuts about Russia, studied a lot of it in college. And like it's interesting when when we used to talk. Yeah, sorry. So trying to think of what we're even doing. Oh yeah, we were gonna get leather, but then for that we needed to plant the wheat, and someone somehow is getting in there and planting carrots where there's supposed to be wheat. I don't know how. Like there's a gate. The villagers don't know how to get through gates. I wouldn't think they'd be able to do this. And even then, like, I almost feel like they didn't actually get in here, but sometimes the land will act like it'll generate as if the behavior had happened. Like say a farmer didn't actually have to get in here. My thinking is just if there was a legitimate pathing or way that they could get in here, that the game just regenerated this block, did the best it could. Sometimes it might not be completely accurate. Like each one of these crops might not have been at the specific stage, who knows. But anyways, and so I think it just generates and does its best guess, and it's like, oh wait, there is a pathing block, so yeah, let's just make all these carrots now, or so many percentage. I don't know. Like, you could really get down into the code and see if there really was something like that. But that's a potential algorithm if you're trying to replicate human thinking and essentially make an artificial intelligence, which is making NPCs or non-playable characters or these people. That one doesn't have a job. I don't think that one does either. Interesting that I think these are the jungle ones? Or no, 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 not jungle. These are the type, because we're not in the city texture pack. Part of the problem of only being logged in so much, like, they ripped it away. They actually kicked me out. because I was playing with the city texture pack, and they're like, "Nope, you don't own this because you're not signed in." So that's fine. But and Minecraft's $30. Like, you know, as soon as we get computers to everybody, and I'm talking about mostly like in the U.S., people that are coming from prison that they didn't have a chance to really get a good job or make good money, and like now they got to start over like with like next to nothing unless their family's helping them out. Like that's where a lot of the computers locally are going to go is people with criminal records or people going through court stuff. Like, people with a checkered past that are in their checkered phase. What's that? Oh, just my phone listening to me. Oh, and they could be. They totally could be. I remember hearing about Verizon. It came out, and I don't even know if I actually looked at the article. I feel like I did, but I don't know. It could have just been rumors. But basically, I heard that Verizon was turning over information if people were breaking the law and they were aware of it. Like if they saw that there was illegal activity going on, they would turn it into the authorities. Now, talk about the smart meters being a concern for telling if people are growing a certain plant, which up until recently was illegal. Colorado is now perfectly legal. I'm talking about cannabis. Um, that was a fear of a lot of people. Was like, well, I don't want these smart meters because they're gonna bust me growing bud. Like, okay, well now it's legal, so you don't have to worry about that. Now the smart meter might actually, oh, but it can catch you if you're cooking, drugs. Sorry, I don't know how much I want to talk about on these things. I mean, granted, by fifth grade, kids actually have the DARE program. That's when I learned it first. I had a police officer come in and talk to us about every different type of drug, like what they were, what they did to you. We even looked at books that showed us the deteriorating situations of people that were on certain substances. So like literally like teeth rotting out of your head. Scary. And so I was like, yeah, I never want to do that. And I never did. At least not to my knowledge, but anyways. And alcohol. See, you ask yourself, well, how is any of this possible? Well, when alcohol is involved, anything's possible, you'll find. Like, and that's not a good thing. I'm not saying that as a good thing. I'm saying alcohol, which is one of the most trusted substances known to humans. And I say that because I'm also thinking we need to start calling men he men and women women. Like, once we add the he in front of man, then we can fix the whole patriarchal problem which was accidental, honestly, in my opinion. The whole patriarchy taking over, how women were like second class citizens, still are in some situations and places, and like even in the U.S. with the pay gap. Like if you're a woman, automatically you might get less money in a certain place, and it's like not intentionally, but then it's like, well, it is. Look at the numbers. So, anyways, just a simple thing like that, a communication issue. It might seem silly. We might like joke about it, be like, "Oh, He-Man, huh?" Haha. But if you think about it, every policeman, every congressman is now a man or a woman, a He-Man or a woman. That's it. That's as simple as it is. Now, if you say, "Hey, man," it could be a human. Like I used to say, "Hey, man," to like a woman, or like, and it used to sound silly when Bart would say something like that, like, "Come on, man," saying it to like Miss Krabappel, his teacher. Then it's like, okay, well, it's is which would you rather? Would you rather the awkwardness of calling a woman a man like that, like, and then you say it like that, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That brings up all of the transgender issues. Look at Minecraft solution. They're all he-men implied, but they could be just whatever. You could just be really deep voiced women or in between. Like, it's. Anyways, the point is, don't think too hard about it. The game was just very simplified. It's blocky. It's meant to be. And so even the social structure of villages is intentionally blocky. And look at this. We're living in a pink house, like in a pink cherry orchard. Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Also, my masculinity. I'm not too worried about it. I got kiddos. I'm happy where I'm at. And then also the caution and the nervous and the like insecurities of self too. Like there's all sorts of different and again psychological things. I took psychology like 4 times. I failed it a couple of times because I just stopped going. I wouldn't go for the tests and like on accident too. I just missed a lot of classes and like because I was off busy being a college student and learning things. So very expensive things, which I did pay a lot of for. I've worked so much. Like I had a job all through high school, at least during the summers. So my summers were spent working and making, ice cream for people at K's Dairy Delight. Like, I worked there all 4 summers, and then I worked. What was it, like sophomore year? I started getting into like, okay, I want to work during the winter too, because I liked it. I liked having money, like going and spending what I wanted money to spend on. Like, so my parents were like, all right, cool. It gets him out of the house. It's teaching him skills. Like he's not doing things that are gonna get him in trouble. Like, yeah, let's let him go work. But then that gave me the freedom of having my own money, and then I was able to make my own decisions of finances. And saying it like that, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So, anyways, where are we getting? I feel like we got way off a topic there, and now we're at like 25 minutes. So, anyways, cybersecurity, it's important that you're studying all of the angles, like all of the factors, all of the contributing things to consider. And then when you're problem solving, address all of those issues. Like poverty, homelessness, all of these things that we say like very easily, like everybody can get on board with. Oh, I wish there weren't any homeless people. Now, whatever your motives are, if you're just tired of seeing them begging on the corner of the street, like, or whatever, well, maybe make it easier for people coming from prison or people coming from military to adjust and acclimate to the world. Then yeah, then you're on the way, basically. And so prison reintegration, it's a big factor for our country, and it's basically where I need to problem solve first for. I mean, at the same time, that doesn't mean that I'm going to completely ignore the rest of the world. It just means that my main focus is going to be my country, and then I'm going to be concerned about the world. But and that's the whole thing is like you got to worry about yourself, your family, your friends, your community, your town, your state, your country, your continent, your hemisphere, then your world. Like in that order, but they all need to be really close. And that's what I'm saying is like I guess the easiest way to describe that is I used to treat everybody at this large corporation that I worked at. I did IT, I did help desk IT actually, so frontline. And so I would talk to contractors, which were considered like the lowliest of the low, temp workers, people that didn't even get insurance. They're like, yeah, you work here, but you could, or that could change tomorrow. That could change today. All the way up to the presidents. Like we actually had VPs and we had presidents, and then we had like CEOs and all that. But like like the head guy in charge or the head person, the head human in charge, which human sounds awkward too, but I'd almost rather say that than the head or the head man in charge and never mean a woman. Or if it does, it's awkward and they're like, oh, well, you know what I meant. It's not a he man, it's a woman or a human. Anyways, I digress. I treated them all with the same level of respect. Because if you're having a tech issue, I don't care whether if your parking's validated or if you took the bus to work. I really don't care. My concern is how do we fix this problem? And that's all I had time to think of. Like, I mean, there were so many problems coming in that I had to keep my head on a swivel, which was a great thing that I learned how to do in football because I was a lineman, protecting the quarterback on the quick side. Which there's even a movie, The Blind Side, or I think, where it's like Sandra Bullock. And anyways, the point is it's a very important role in football is to protect the quarterback because the quarterback makes all the points and does all that, and the linemen are an often represent or misunderstood, or like no underknown position. Sorry, they're just knuckleheads that slam into someone every play. They're not very glamorous, like And then I lived that, so I have a little experience of what that's like. And then people that catch too. Sorry, this went into like a football analogy because I know somebody that he used to be a wide receiver and he was always playing second fiddle to this other guy, and now he's like this famous musician. He's the lead singer of Mice of Men, actually, and I'm glad he's doing well. Like, I mean, I felt bad in school because like there's this other kid that got all the glory, that got all the like the catches and the touchdowns, and everybody loved the other guy. And then like with him, he would try to get the attention, but And so these are the things that we need to address. Be like, well, born in America, having these troubles of about this and that, very broad general terms. But basically, how do you solve problems for people not born in America? How do you solve problems for people like in Israel and Palestine? Well, like that, oof, but it's possibly the most important thing right now. And then Ukraine. But in really the US, like getting our military out of everything. Like we can still support, we can still build, we can still mutually assured construction. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. And as an American, like that's the best I can say is like, sorry for what happened, but like my personal voice, my opinion wasn't gonna matter. And we already have things in motion too, so it's like I don't know. that's a rabbit hole I don't think we have time to jump into. So, all right, ta ta for now. I will see you in the next one. Happy musings, everybody.